The Wineglass Marathon is memorable.
Best course around.
Just awesome. Everything was perfect.
Wineglass Marathon is beautiful.
Gorgeous, beautiful views.
Probably one of the best courses I've ever run on.
Kids are out there and they're giving you high fives.
Wineglass is run just right. It's so well organized. The expo was really nice.
I just love how the whole community supports this race.
The community's been very welcoming. Walked up and down the street and visited all the little shops.
The Wineglass Marathon is a great way to spend a weekend. We spent a couple of days going around the wineries.
Come do this marathon.
It's a fantastic race.
One of the best races in the East Coast.
Tremendous experience.
Amazing race.
I highly recommend it.
This could not have been a better first marathon experience.
Wineglass!
Welcome to the Guthrie Wineglass Marathon Preview Special, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we're going to take a look at all the information you need to know about the upcoming marathon. After this break, we'll hear from Sheila Sutton, the race director. Later on in the program, Sheriff Jim Allard, so stay with us. Welcome back to the Guthrie Wineglass Marathon Preview Special on Big Fox. Our very special guest, the Wineglass Marathon Director, Sheila Sutton. So we can all feel the excitement. It's that time of year for the Wineglass Marathon. How do you feel being this close to the Wineglass Marathon?
Good. It's good.
Yeah.
We're the planning's going great, or has gone great, and right now we're handing out volunteer shirts, getting everything lined up to get staged at the finish line and go out to the various places on the course. So we're good.
What's your day like when the race day starts?
I'm up around 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I'm picking up a couple of my key volunteers.
Yeah.
In fact, the Michelle Caulfield, superintendent, is with me at the start of the full marathon, and we head up to the start, get set up, and ready for the buses to start bringing the runners up there. I have some other key volunteers at the half marathon. I check in with Sheriff Allard at the start and make sure everything's set, and stay in contact with the Steuben EOC. We kind of keep track of the weather and make sure coning's all staged and set. And
isn't there something interesting? Because I've been down here on Market Street at around 4 a.m. before the race, and it almost feels like it's midnight or 11, and there's a party scene. Everybody's so excited, and you can't even find parking at 4 a.m. No. Isn't it amazing?
We, the boys lacrosse team from Corning helps. We're basically moving a mini city, right, in a very short period of time, getting set up, and then the runners are getting ready to get on the buses on Tioga because they only can take a bus to the start. That's the only way they can get to the start. So it's pretty busy down in Corning.
It really is. Now, the idea of this show is to give runners and people in the area, maybe for the first time, an idea of what they need to know. So let's start there. What is the most important information for runners to know?
They need to make sure they have their bibs and get that at the expo, and that's Friday at CMOG from 11 to 7, and then Saturday it's 9 to 6.
Okay.
They need pick up that, can't get on the bus without their bib, and they can't get to the start line without a bus.
Well, yes. So that's maybe the biggest thing that you need, and your running shoes. Right, of course. What do you think for the community that are watching this? So maybe they're not participating in the race, but what should they know?
So watch for the announcement on road closures. That'll come out right before the race. The downtown, like Bridge Street, Market Street, if you're not running or not volunteering, come out and cheer on the runners. It's really inspirational and just fun to see them finishing, and there a lot of times there's a lot of tears.
Yes, there really is.
And big smiles, and it's fun.
You see just about everything. I've seen everything from people that look just exhausted to people that proposed. I saw that one year. So every year there's something new. So if you can make it down to the finish line, boy, it's a fun place to be.
And we have a really strong elite field for the marathon and the half this year. We have a number of folks trying to hit the Olympic standards.
Oh, wow.
We had Spencer, who won the marathon last year, set a new course record and qualified for the Olympic trials. So we just have the reputation, and we are a flat and fast course. So, runners will come trying to qualify for Boston or, hit their, personal bests or qualify for the Olympic trials.
How long has the Wineglass Marathon been going on?
This is our 42nd year for the marathon.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's changed so much within the last 10 to 15 years even.
It has, and that's about when I got involved,
Hey.
about 15 years ago. Yeah.
That's great.
We, we're country roads, and
Right.
that's part of what's special about us. And at one point we had a relay, 3-person relay, and the course and the roads and the community just couldn't handle that. But we have an absolute perfect half marathon starting point at Camp El Savona High School, and it's just ideal. And so point to point for both races, and we stagger the start so they can finish kind of in together, and it makes it cool.
When you talk to some of the veterans that have been doing this for many years, do they tell you that it's got to be one of the most beautiful courses? Because you can even see in the background here, the leaves are changing. There's something about this time of year in our area where it doesn't get much better.
Right. I mean, you think, Western New York, like the mountains, right? But they run in the valley, so they have the scenery on either side, the leaves changing, and it's you're not running around city buildings.
Right.
In a lot of city marathons, you're doing loops, right?
Right.
And so it's constantly a changing scenery, and it's very pretty.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. So is there something that people know that are doing the various race, either the half marathon or marathon? How is it different for those different runners? Is it just timing, where you're going, where you're headed?
Yeah, so we stagger the starts, right? The half marathoners start at 7:45, and the marathoners start at 8:15, and that's partly because we end up converging on the bike path.
Oh, okay.
Right, and so we want to get some of the faster folks off and not have quite a bottleneck. So, the training for it's longer, right? For a marathon, there's different, and even the fueling.
Sure.
Right, they've, there's people joke that you can just sign up for a half marathon and do it. Well, but
Not
there's
me.
a little more. There's a little more training involved for the marathon.
Sure.
But
Is there anything new this year that people should be aware of?
there isn't.
That's great.
Like the course is the same. Buses are the same. Expo's the same. We had the Storeflex 5K on Saturday. Bart Yazzo, Dave McGilvray, and Molly Huddle will all be at the 5K and running that, and at the pasta dinner on Saturday night at the Radisson. Tickets are still available for that. But other than that, last year went really well.
Yeah.
So we're just keeping it, hoping for another awesome year.
You don't fix it if it's not broken, right?
Right.
And no one can complain, so let's keep it as similar as possible. I know the route is exactly the same.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. So what does this mean for the community? I know a lot of people get involved, volunteer, but I also think it's kind of overlooked how important it is to our restaurants, our hotels, and just the community in general.
So we've been saying, and I think it's a really low ballpark estimate, that it's bringing in to the region over $6 million a year, for the race weekend. We have runners right now from 48 states plus DC. We're missing Idaho and North Dakota, and 15 countries. I mean, Sweden, Belgium, Australia, France. Like, we have runners coming from all over the world. A large contingent always from Canada.
Of course.
And they go to CMOG, get their bibs. You can see them walking with their backpacks on Market Street. They flood the restaurants for dinners and shopping, and they stick around for days, right?
Yes.
A lot of them, especially if you're doing a marathon, you don't want to get back in a car or on a plane Sunday night. So
I would need a month.
Right? So they'll stick around till at least Monday and even Tuesday and continue shopping, looking for places to eat and celebrate Sunday night.
Of course. How many volunteers does this take in the planning process?
Over 2,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's probably not that difficult. Everybody wants to be a part of it.
Probably about 8 years ago or so, it was very clear that if you weren't running, you wanted to be involved.
Right.
So we get huge support. There's over 50 nonprofits involved, a lot of school organizations, sports teams from Bath. The start line, we have the Academic All-Stars from Bath Haverling that are there helping. On down through Elmira College sports teams come and help. The Corning Painted Post is great. So, one of the cool things then is we're able to give back then to those organizations after the race. And since we instituted that in about 2011, I think we've given back over $800,000.
Wow.
So it's a cool thing.
It really is. What's your personal favorite part of the weekend?
Watching the runners finish. Yeah, and being there to celebrate their success. My philosophy has always been, for a marathon, it takes a good 4 months to train, right? Our job is to help them succeed and make it, the
as
best.
Enjoyable as possible.
Exactly, right? So where a lot of races have cut back on the swag, what they give the runners, we've stuck the course on that. They get a wine glass, they get a champagne split from Pleasant Valley, they get nice quarter zip shirts and bags, and then our finish line food, which Wegmans primarily, most races, like here's a bagel and a banana and you're on your way, right? We have hot pizza and 2 different types of soups, and we have New York State apples, cheese sticks, and you have the bagels, but we have Wegmans cookies, and so it's really celebrating the runner's success and welcoming them to the community and
highlighting our beautiful area too, all at the same time.
Our Market Street is gorgeous.
Yes.
It's very reminiscent of the Boston finishing because they go down Bridge Street and then turn and you can see the finish line ahead. Yeah. Right? And I don't know. It's one of those goosebumps.
It really
moments.
is. And that's why I would recommend anybody who's not involved in the race itself to come out and the marathon, I should say, come out and watch it.
Yes.
Because you'll never experience anything quite like it.
No. And we are the second largest marathon in New York State.
Wow.
Behind New York City. So, it's right here, an opportunity to watch world-class runners and a world-class event.
Just before we go, what would you say to that runner preparing today to hit the starting line?
Trust your training. Yeah. Don't forget your bib. I can't tell you how many people forget their bib in their hotel room.
Sure.
Just trust your training. We've got the rest.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll hear from Sheriff Jim Allard right here on the Guthrie Wineglass Marathon Preview Special, brought to you by our friends at Hector Hideaway, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Guthrie Wineglass Marathon Preview Special on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and our guest, Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard. Well, thank you so much for being on the program.
Anytime. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Of course. Now, talk about the wine glass. I know you've been involved in this for how long?
This is my 11th wine glass that I've helped manage the security for.
Wow. And I know that you love it because we used to show footage after the fact, and you could always see you in the background with a big grin on your face.
That's my normal
one. Oh, that's true.
I really enjoy, so we do the start of the full, the sheriff's office does, and we get them on the road, but then we jump up to Savona and do traffic control of Savona, and then jump up to Campbell, and then jump up to Cooper's, and then I usually go to the finish line after that. So I see almost every runner 3 or 4 times, and I'll see the spectators 3 or 4 times too at the viewing places, and it's always fun to see them because they'll be like, weren't you?
Wait a minute.
Yeah. And I have a lot of fun. I high five them and encourage them. And I had, because it's a closed start, and that's something that the runners need to know, is that the start of the full and the start of the half is a closed start. You have to be bussed in.
Oh, okay.
You can't just be dropped off and walk in. And every year there's 5 or 6 at the full that they'll go to Shirley's Lumber and want to walk in, and it's like, no, you can't. You got to take the bus in.
For security issues, right?
Yes.
Especially considering it's a part of the Boston Marathon.
Correct.
I mean,
it's the last qualifier before the Boston Marathon. So in those situations, I'll get Sheila Sutton up there as the race director. She'll verify their identity, verify they are who they are. We'll check them again. And then if we can, we get them in. And I think it was 2 years ago, one lady, she's like losing her mind because she couldn't get in. And we went through the verification process and got her in, and high-fived her when she went by at the start. I'm doing traffic in Savona, and she's running. She gives me a hug, almost knocks me off my feet, and continues on. So those are the fun parts of it is we provide a very safe course, top 10 in the world to run according to Runner's World.
Wow.
And but we have a lot of fun with the folks that are there and participating too. And the runners, by and large, are a great group. Now, the guy that came in second overall, I think it was last year, was one of those that didn't take the bus, and he almost didn't get in to start. And he's like, you don't understand. I'm a serious competitor.
Well, you don't understand the rules.
Right. Follow the rules, serious competitor. And but we got him in, and he came in second.
Wow. That was a close one.
And every time he'd go by me, he'd be like,
Well, it really has become kind of its own community. That's what's neat about. And it's so, I believe, so important to our area.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I'm sure Sheila will tell you how many millions in sales it brings to this region every weekend when it's up. But it's not only that, because I talk to people that come back because it's so beautiful. They'll come back and tour and go to the Museum of Glass and go hit the wineries and be on the lake. And it's not just that weekend. It expands for the tourism industry throughout the year.
So tell us, you just mentioned one example of this, but what should runners know before they hit the starting line?
So they should know where to get their bus and what time to get there, because the buses start very, very early.
Very early.
And
have your bib too, we were told.
Yes, they have to have their bib with them to get on the bus. And the bus takes them to the start, and they should know where the viewing areas are, the approved viewing areas for their family or whoever's rooting them on, because that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, of course.
And for the family members, we have tape up. There's set areas they can be. Everybody wants to get into the runner's lane and do a selfie and get a picture with their runner, but that impedes all the rest of the runners. So we generally don't like to see that.
What should the residents know that aren't participating?
So obviously it's going to affect traffic that day.
Yeah, of course.
And there's certain areas that catch it, like Cooper's catches it all day because the half comes through, then the full comes through. One of the things that I was very adamant about after year one is that we had to have opening times where it's no longer a race course, now it's open to traffic again. Because it's not fair to the volunteers and it's not fair to the residents to just say, well, when the last one gets across, the last one gets across, and then we'll open up.
Yeah, that's not right.
That's not. So we have specific opening times. 11 o'clock, Savona's open.
Okay.
Open to normal traffic. At noon, Campbell's open to normal traffic. At 1, Cooper's is open to normal traffic. And at 1:30, the exits on the highway are open back up.
Okay, so that's pretty quick. You guys have to be very busy throughout the day then.
We are. Yeah. So we have, I believe, 10 deputies on bicycles on the route that are providing safety and security, but also most of them are EMTs, and they're there to help. There's medical stations on the route. We have, again, we handle traffic at the beginning and the security of the start. Then we handle traffic at Savona and at Campbell. We assist there. Meach Creek at 4:15. We shut that down. And then the state police typically handles everything from Painted Post into the city of Corning, along with Painted Post PD. And then the city of Corning takes over once it hits into the city. So I actually did a presentation in Buffalo a few years ago on because this is the second largest in the state.
Yeah.
It's second only to New York City Marathon.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. And so I did a presentation in Buffalo that it's a marathon of volunteers, and it's a marathon of collaboration, because every agency along the route is helping, and you can't say enough about what the fire departments do.
No.
They're all volunteers, and they're out there at dark 30, and their fire police are doing traffic, and they're also manning the medical tents, and they're there to do whatever needs to be done. And last year there was a fire in Campbell.
Oh my goodness!
Right before the start of the half.
Wow, talk about timing.
Yeah. So they had to then figure out how to. They got the fire knocked down, they got it out, and then get over and do traffic again.
Yeah.
And because again, you're talking about thousands of people. I believe there's, and Sheila would have the numbers, but I think it's close to 7,000 total runners.
Yeah. Wow. How much prep goes into this logistically in your office?
So quite a bit. We have we have a kind of an executive team for the race, the emergency management office, our office, the state police, and the Wineglass itself, and we meet monthly throughout the year. And it's at least one day a month.
Well, that's why it runs so smooth, though.
It is. Yeah. And we've worked out. The first couple of years we were involved, it was rough, and we worked out a lot of kinks. Yeah. And now it runs pretty smooth, and the course is set, and we know what to expect, and the residents know what to expect.
Yeah, at this point.
And that was part of it too, is it was changing every year. Yeah. And I'm like, how can you expect the residents to know what they need to do if you're going to continue to change the course? Yeah. So it's worked out well. It's running very smoothly now, and we've gone to the steps of establishing mass casualty centers. Oh, wow. Should that happen?
God forbid.
Of establishing reunification centers should the bad day happen. So we look at also not just how to make sure we get our runners from point A to point B, but should we be the target of some sort of attack, what are we going to do then? Sure. And obviously no plan is fail-safe, but a plan is a great place to start. So we've worked with the emergency management office to do that and look at what we would do if we had to in certain circumstances.
So just before we go, your favorite part of the day, personally?
My favorite part of the day is when they come around the corner from 113 on to 54. Yeah. And I get to say, you're almost there. It's just ahead. Just keep going. And the looks on some of the runners' faces is priceless.
I'm sure.
But seeing them as they get close to the end too, and they're still positive. And they're in pain. Yeah. They're hurting, but they're still positive. That's one of my favorite parts too.
I was talking about this before, but there's something about being at that finish line, because I've been there numerous times, where it really gives you goosebumps in a way.
Yeah.
To think of these, because you see people in all shapes and forms at that point.
Yeah, you see them drop.
Yeah. It's amazing. So I'm glad that we have this in our community, and thank you for all that you do to make sure it runs smooth, and thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely, anytime.
Thank you to Sheriff Jim Allard for being our guest. Stay with us. We'll be right back with the Guthrie Wineglass Marathon Preview Special, brought to you by our friends at Hector Hideaway, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Wine and running, my two favorite things. It's just grown and grown. It's huge. Look around. It's amazing. The best organized race I've ever been to.
A lot of fun, a lot of excitement.
It was really well organized. People were really friendly.
Unbelievable the amount of support, people that are here.
By far one of the best expos.
Everybody talks about how great the course is.
It's a great course. The beautiful scenery.
It's just so picturesque.
A course that's flat and pretty.
Calmer and more about the experience than about the chaos.
Being outside as opposed to running next to big buildings and things like that.
It's just fun. I don't know. I get very nervous about other races, and this one I don't get nervous.
If you are into running for scenery, this one you cannot go wrong with. It's beautiful here now in New York State. Highly recommend it.
It's not just about the race, it's about being up in this part of the country.
A great destination race. There's so much to do.
We have so much to offer the runners and their families, so much excitement.
People are so nice here.
Everyone's been really helpful, and encouraging.
The town was very welcoming. It's a wonderful experience.
The energy that surrounds Corning is phenomenal.
Just a really nice vibe here.
When we got here till the time we left, everybody made us feel welcome.
I think the community really enjoys having the marathon here. It's great that it's right down here on our street that we can all share in it.
Lots of activities to do besides run.
I would definitely plan a little bit more time than just the weekend.
Definitely stay longer than just day in and day out for the race.
Just take in some of what Corning and the Lake region has to offer.
It's fantastic. We've done a lot of races. Everything has been top-notch here.
It was so much more than we expected.
Couldn't be better. Easily my favorite race.
We had such a wonderful time.
And I have to say everything was like A1.
Really enjoyed myself. I'll be back.
I'm going to recommend this to all my friends. This is awesome.
It's really, really fun to be a part of.
Thank you for joining us on the Guthrie Wineglass Marathon Preview Special. I've been your host, Frank Acom. We want to thank our guests, of course, Sheriff Jim Allard and Sheila Sutton, the race director for the marathon, and of course, our friends at Hector Hideaway. Thank you for joining us, and best of luck at the races.